A very good evening to all of you, and once again, welcome to episode of Eclectica, the Different News. Well, today is an incredible episode, and why I say incredible, you will shortly understand. Well, not awaiting anymore, let me tell you who is my guest today. Well, I'm quite nervous, as you can understand, because this is somebody who every host would aspire to host this person in their interview show. Well, one among the top 10 most influential entrepreneurs of the year 2022 as per India Today, leader of the year, the Economic Times 2019-2020, India's greatest leaders by Asia won in 2018-2019, and a lot and lot more accolades in the list of accomplishments. The man who established a team from scratch to create one of the fastest growing life sciences companies in India. Yes, if you have guessed, I'm extremely elated to host none other than Mr. Praveen Gupta, founder and CEO of Premas Lifesciences Private Limited, on this incredible episode of Eclectica, the Different News. I will also give you a little bit information about how what Premas is. Basically, Premas Life Sciences has been credited as one of the major contributors towards creating genomics as an industry in India, which is now more than 1,000 crores in size, employing in excess of 10,000 professionals involved in creation of an ecosystem for genomics to thrive and benefit society at large by unlocking the power of genomics. Well, then, get ready and let's get our guest inside. Very good evening, Praveen sir. It's my privilege, and thank you so much for being on my show. I'm so happy to have you.
Thank you, Gargi. Likewise, pleasure to interact with you, and thank you for that over generous introduction. I wish I can live up to that hype. So thank you so much. Thank you, Gargi.
So, sir, today we will be learning from you. Practically, you are the one name when genomics in India comes up in our mind. You are the one name that comes as an expert. So, we will talk more on and try to understand from you the relationship about what genomics is and how it can be used in the benefit of healthcare, and particularly, precisely, we will try to understand about precision medicine. So, sir, with that context, I would like to ask you my first question as like, what exactly is genomics? Like, if we really want to explain it to a layman person, so how would you explain that?
Okay. Thanks. I mean, I'll try to answer your questions to make it as simplified as possible, Gargi.
Sure.
Genomics is in essentially, as a classical definition, is basically a study of genomes, which is basically a collection of the entire DNA, the genetic material of a human being or a being, and any being is basically genome. And study of that genome is called genomics, typically. Now, what is a genome? Genome to me is, in a very layman term, it's your master print. It's a master copy or a blueprint of life, where a lot of information is decoded or coded, out there. As so, when we are born with certain genetic blueprint, and that is what governs many of our phenotypical characters. So that's been encoded in your master copy. So it's like a master copy. Um, uh, to draw a parallel, when a kid is born in India, people make a janam kundli that becomes like your reference for the entire life. Your genome is your reference for your entire life, on which, by and large, all your traits are encoded out there. Now, it's not static. It's not that genomes are static. They also change, and that's what we study. That the changes which occur during our lifetime, which are called as somatic changes. What we are born with is germline, and what happens in our lifetime, basically because of our exposure, because of our environment, those changes are those somatic changes which we study in disease biology. So both germline and somatic studies. So I hope I was able to simplify that a genome is basically a master copy or a blueprint on which our lives are kind of unfolded. All our traits are unfolded during our life.
I mean, no other simple explanation can be done for a critical or complex science of genomics. But then, yes, as you rightly said, it is. I love that word kundli, and that's Indian people will definitely understand what is that, and that exactly is genomics and the things that we are born with. So, sir, according to my understanding, these technologies are very powerful. Like what comes with genomics is very powerful. So is it really possible that we can actually harness the power of genomics and use it to the benefit of mankind? Rather specifically, I would focus on disease diagnosis, because I think when it comes to any clinical pathological condition, first thing is diagnosis. So, what is your opinion in this area?
Oh, big time, I think not that it, I mean, if you're asking me, it can be used, it's already getting used big time. Globally, I mean, last year, almost close to about 100 million people got impacted or tested using genomics technologies. Even, I mean, I'm saying even much more. In fact, I mean, this 100 million would be approximately touched upon by NGS. So there's a vast the majority of clinical areas where genomics is already making a huge difference. Even in India, we have a sizable number of clinical samples being tested using these genomics technologies routinely now. So things like
Okay.
exome sequencing. When a baby is born, and if you have some kind of phenotype in which you're seeing that there's something wrong in the baby, and in the past, so suppose it's a rare disorder which the clinician or the pediatrician is not able to pinpoint what exactly the problem is. In older times, the typical diagnostic odyssey would take about 7 to 10 years to find out what is wrong with that child, because you have
Right.
to do a lot of iterative testing, to keep on
Hmm.
doing one test after other. Thanks to the advent of genomics, like exome sequencing or whole genome sequencing, you're able to pinpoint to find out what is the causative genetic mutation which has occurred, or a variation which has occurred, and then accordingly treatment regime, therapeutic regime, or a management regime happens. So it's very, very commonly deployed right now in many, many disorders. Oncology, cancer is a
Hmm.
disease where something first goes wrong in the genome,
Right.
and each tumor is different. No two cancer patients are similar. So it's
Correct.
been comprehensive genomic profiling in cancer has become a routine care now globally. In India too, it's catching up. So right now we have a lot of such parameters. HLA testing, for example, it's now becoming practically 70 to 80% of HLA typing market in India is on NGS, not just genomics, but on next generation sequencing technologies. So the adoption rate of genomics to make a sizable impact in the clinical space
Hmm.
is already happening.
Right, right. And I think that's very, very promising future that, and we in the coming days we are living in a very brighter future when it comes to this kind of advanced technologies helping us to diagnose, even as you say, the deadly diseases like any cancers or rare diseases. And I think that's a fantastic era we are moving into, or we are already inside it. Uh, sir, the thing is that I think these technologies, the scientific community is well aware, particularly people from the life sciences background, the scientists. So, but then I think whenever we want to translate any science to the benefit of the society, somewhere the healthcare professionals comes in the midst, and what do you think, what is your opinion, or what is your insight, or what is your observation when it comes to awareness about adapting genomic technologies in routine healthcare practice? I would really love to know from you.
So you're spot on that, unless we involve the clinicians, the healthcare professionals, to be
Hmm.
basically a part of this change, or this powerful tool called genomics, so I mean, unless we involve the clinicians, we will not be able to actually leverage the power, because unless we know a patient's history, phenotype, lots of insights and details, pure genomics or purely doing some kind of genetic testing will not help. So I think it's very
Right.
important that the knowledge of a clinician, from knowing the patient's phenotype and what are the symptoms, all those are very important to be related along with the genotype data to make a comprehensive assessment. Now, you're right that not only in India but globally, I think there is a challenge about educating the clinicians, because
Hmm.
most of the clinicians, or many clinicians, at least my personal estimate is about 60-70% of the clinicians have basically done their medicine before the genome was sequenced.
Yes.
So they
Yes.
had no, probably they did not get any, I think, formal education on genomics
Correct.
during their MBBS and MDs. So it's a 20-year-old phenomena that the genome got sequenced.
Correct.
So that knowledge, or that comfort of genomics is a
Hmm.
dynamic process. It's a work in progress. Each country, each I would say player, each company which is operating in the genomic space, or each stakeholder which is operating in the genomic space, is trying its bit to basically improve this education in
Hmm.
different manners. So you organize lots of CMEs, you organize road shows, you organize educational programs. Genetic counselors are trying to work very closely with the clinicians to basically share their wisdom about genetic connections and stuff like this. So I think it's a collective exercise which requires lots of efforts. We are doing lots. I'm very proud that we are associated with some of the leading technologies like Illumina, you know, and we hold joint workshops. We hold lots of road shows. There are lots of so in India too. There are a lot of clinical path labs and hospitals which have adopted genomics, and they
Right.
all are collectively or individually, they're trying their level best to increase this awareness in the clinical space at the clinician level, because unless the clinician gets more aware about the prowess of
Hmm.
this technology or the advent of this technology, we will not be able to truly unlock the potential of the genomics. So I think it's a work in progress, and I think it'll take this process will just keep on continuing, because as we understand genomics, or as we understand genomes, there are
Hmm.
more complexities which are coming up. So I think this is a continuous process, and I think everybody has to chip in and do their best.
Right, sir. Right. That's rightly said. Well, to all my audience, whoever have joined, thank you so much for joining in this live session. And if you are missing it out, don't worry. This video will be here, so you can watch it later. So if you're in the live, so please put out that you are here and let us know that you are here. And if you have any questions that is popping up in your mind, we will not get Praveen sir very often. So you can put out your question in the chat, and we will try to mark your questions, and we will sir will give answers to that if our time permits. Well, sir, we'll hear genomics, and we hear nowadays about precision medicine, though I know this science has been it's not a new science. But then I just wanted to know that is basically genomics and precision medicine, are they truly related? I mean, is it a hype, or it is really a fact?
So, see, precision medicine has been there for ages, including
Yes.
our own. If you look at our traditional Ayurveda, it
Hmm.
practiced precision medicine by classifying people with different prakritis and treating them differently. That's also a form of precision medicine. That you're not trying to say one size fits all. You're trying to have
Exactly.
individualized treatment regime for
Hmm.
people, communities, populations, based on their whatever collective, uniformities or differences. Now, what genomics has done is it's given you an amazing tool or scale to
Hmm.
further individually characterize people differently, to say that one person with a same disease, presumably, suppose, say, for example, oncology, a same two tumors are not unique, because the way each cell mutates, or the tumor mutational burden in one patient would be very different compared to the other patient with a similar disease type.
Correct.
Precision medicine, or personalized medicine, is basically combining this power of technology like genomics to find out what is that uniqueness in that particular patient or in that particular disease condition, and then tailoring a particular treatment or a therapy or a regime, so that you can be highly effective, and you're not trying to put one size fits all approach. So to me, this is one area which is only going to see a massive, massive uptake in times to come. For example, there's one more aspect. So the pharmacogenomics aspect, basically the
Hmm.
way our body metabolizes drugs, you know so not just the disease types are different, but suppose the way I may metabolize paracetamol, the way my body metabolizes paracetamol based on the genetic variations of my drug metabolism enzymes, DMEs, or the cytochrome P450s, is different than yours. Now, I
Correct.
may have a headache, you may have a headache, I may require one tablet, you may require two tablets, but somebody else might be actually toxic to paracetamol and should not take paracetamol. Okay, so now those, imagine, I mean, a future where every child which is born gets tested at a very early stage to know which all drugs will never respond to that child. And you imagine the
Hmm.
amount of ADRs we can avoid. In India too, there's so much of adverse drug reaction happening and so much of hospitalization and deaths, which causes a huge personal loss and loss to the exchequer in terms of the total healthcare burden. Imagine tomorrow you can have a regime where we have pharmacogenomic profiling done for every single child, and that information is somehow connected to your Aadhaar card or your some kind of identity. And tomorrow, without revealing your genetic information, a clinician can log into a database and see that, okay, can ask a question, can I give this combination of therapy, and the answer can come yes, no, and based on that, clinician can take a more informed decision to treat a patient. So I think, to me, the power of personalized medicine has increased with these technologies getting more
Hmm.
mature.
Right, right. Wonderful, sir. Wonderful. The way you are explaining, and we really are envisioning that brighter future. And I hope what the ideas, robust ideas that you were putting out, some entrepreneurs are out there take this up, and I think it's all futuristic, so they definitely work on it. And we really have something what you are telling, and I think it's making the life of healthcare professionals easier at the end of the day, because. Again, in medicine also, like with the drugs, as you rightly said, that we generally, it's a proven thing. It's a trial and error thing that's going on. I mean, most of the time, because we are not taught in this way, and none of our textbooks says all these things. So I think all this together, the education, the technologies, anyway, it's everything is quite positive, and I'm very glad and excited to know more insights from you, actually. So sir, where do we stand at present when it comes to genomic applications to the benefit of people's health? Like, if I talk about direct uh, translational value of these technologies for the people's health benefit.
So, as I said earlier, Gargi, that in
Hmm.
India too now there's a decent adoption of genomics which is happening in the clinical space. Um, is it optimal? Far from it. But I think I'm very glad to see that in last 4 5 years, the way the adoption in the clinical space which has occurred, there are so many labs which have adopted this technology and offering these services. Without naming them, right now, but I think all the major labs in the country right now have taken NGS tools from some company or the other. I mean, and they're offering these tools to make different kinds of panels and so in oncology, of course, there are a lot of, as I explained to you, there are comprehensive genomic profiling where the people are trying to screen 500 genes for all cancer types, at one go. Liquid biopsies are coming up big time right now in terms of screening for cancers on a yearly basis. Imagine tomorrow the power that, okay, without doing a tumor biopsy, every year if you can draw a sample, a little 5 ml of blood, and you can screen for various malignancies together at one shot, to see if there's any early detection of cancer can occur, and tomorrow you
Hmm.
can plan stuff. Similarly, one other area which, as I explained to you, HLA typing, for example, for transplant immunology space, people who are doing organ transplant, now HLA typing is by and large done on NGS, in the country at this point. NIPT, non-invasive prenatal testing, so any mother who's expectant mother, if they
Hmm.
want to screen if the child is cytogenetically from any aneuploidies, if they want to detect aneuploidies in the fetus, you don't have to do an invasive process first. You can just do a non-invasive prenatal testing using a draw of peripheral blood, and you can find out about the aneuploidies in the fetus. And if it's found to be positive, then you have to go for an invasive process, so you can reduce the number of invasive processes in that space. Like this, infectious disease, now there's a big time advent of tomorrow utilizing infectious disease testing to accurately map out the variant or the species which is infecting a patient. Like for example, we are trying to work out right now in tuberculosis.
Mm.
MDR, multiple drug resistance, is a big problem in India.
Mm.
How do we, current regime is that you have to find out which drug responds to a patient. You have to do a 6 weeks of culturing, and then you have to inoculate with the drugs to find out which antibiotics among the available antibiotics respond to the patient. Can you imagine if we can tomorrow deploy simple tools like sequencing the samples on the very first day, within 2 days or within 3 days, you can get the, based on the sequencing variations of the MTB genome, you can clearly ascertain which antibiotic will respond to a patient. And imagine you can do this in 3 days' time at a fraction of a cost and speed and more accuracy. So all these things are happening. Some are work in progress, some are in the
Mm.
trial phase, some are
Mm.
maturely getting utilized. For example, exome sequencing right now in rare disorders in the country is becoming is rapidly getting adopted thanks to the all the great effort done by early service providers, like MedGenome, like Dr. Lal's Path Lab, like Supratech, like LifeCell. These guys have, I mean, there are zillion names I can take. IGIB has done a huge amount of job in
Yes.
terms of educating the power of genomics in this country, and they run a lot of educational programs. So in many areas, Gargi, it's been routinely adopted. I would love to see tomorrow microbiome becoming standard of care.
Yes.
I remember
Right.
your favorite topic used to be dental microbiomes. I would love to see, in the dental biology space tomorrow, microbiomes getting routinely tested, and your disease and your treatment regimes, get tomorrow decided based on oral microbiomes
Right, sir. Right. I mean,
and
that
happening. And
that's a
for that,
very interesting area. Mm.
and I think the good thing is the government of India and some of the leading academic research institutes are spending
Mm.
a lot of money to create that data or the baseline data on which, because in genomics, again, as we said, you
Mm.
can't just extrapolate the data from the Caucasian population to the Indian
Yes.
population.
Yes.
And one of the major challenges the world has is that, the typical non-white population occupies a large chunk of the global population, yet our contribution to the genomic data right now is minuscule. So
Yes.
I think countries like India, countries in Asia have to really up the ante in terms of creating those databases with proper characterization from the phenotype data, so that tomorrow that can be used in the clinical practice for ascertaining, the right associations. So and these are work in progress. I see a lot of action happening in the clinical space right now.
Yes, sir. And like taking the thread of your word, like oral microbiome, I think that's a very promising area, and even a lot of work, though it is in the research stage at this moment, but then a lot of translational work people are trying all over the world, and definitely in India, because I think that is very. I feel that is we should call oral microbiome as a blueprint, like as you said that it is genome is our blueprint. So I think it also has a, it's kind of a molecular signature, rather like how we have a molecular signature. So I think oral microbiome, I see oral microbiome that way, because it is very very specific to a individual person, or if we take in terms of a population or a region. So I think we can harness lot of information, and using all this power of technology, genomics, NGS in particular, I think the future is very bright. Well, my next question was similar, that how do you envision the future of this field? But I think we have already discussed a lot, and you have given so wonderful insights. But still, sir, if you have anything to add on this aspect, I would really love to know more in this.
See, my so the future is extremely bright right now
Mm.
because two things. One, the awareness is increasing on a second by second basis. I mean, I think there are
Correct.
more adopters coming up. There are more believers coming in.
Mm.
There are more tools coming up which is simplifying the data reporting. It's a very good, unless the clinicians get a crunched report in a simplified format where they can make actionable choices.
Yes.
So all those tools are coming up. The cost of sequencing is coming down drastically. I mean,
Mm.
as we speak, a month back, Illumina launched a new platform where they've halved the cost further of sequencing. So today,
Okay.
the whole genome has reached a $200 per sample mark, globally. So
Mm.
imagine all these three aspects: the clinical awareness,
Mm.
more and more people adopting it and believing it in it, tools becoming more amenable, easier, and cost coming down. So there's only one way I see that the adoption will just increase. So I foresee that I mean, my personal vision is that I would love to see every single child born in India getting sequenced as early as possible,
Exactly.
and they can their parents and they can take choices based on their genomes to have a healthy life, to have a life which is I mean, they can manage their health in a much
Mm.
much fashion, and the mind is sharper because they actually were not worried. I mean, they're taking care of their health issues at a very early stage. So I'd love to see. I mean, and that's my vision of the future in this country from a healthcare perspective. But genomics is not just touching the healthcare; it's touching every single aspect.
Mm.
So I think, uh, like environment right now, how do you protect our environment unless you maintain the diversity of the species in each landscape. So there are people deploying to sequence the indigenous species and preserving them, and all. So this conservation biology and conservation genomics, the landscape genomics, there's so many new things which are coming up in the genomics area. Not just healthcare, but I think it's so exciting, and I'm every day it just excites me and motivates me to see that there's so much to do.
Right, sir. Right. I agree. I agree with you. I mean, I second all your thoughts, what you have shared. So, sir, almost coming to the concluding part of our conversation, though I hope that this goes on and on, but then, yeah, that cannot happen practically. Sir, please tell us about your baby, that is Premas Life Sciences. We want to know more about Premas. And um, what particularly I would like to understand, what was your inspiration behind Premas Life Sciences, because you are an inspiration to lot and lot of entrepreneurs, students, scientists in this space. So I think this will give us a big shot of motivation for all of us, sir.
Thanks, Gargi, for those nice words. So I think Primas was incepted almost 17 years back. With At that point, the mandate was to basically bring in some of the most complex and cutting edge technologies to India,
Hmm.
and by providing a world class service, an after sales service, how do we make sure that Indian science gets the best of technologies? And that time we chose genomics as an area. And I've said this many times. We tried to create a scientist interacting with the scientist approach. That means, can we have really knowledge based professionals to create a differential in the market to offer these cutting edge technologies in a manner that they start working in India with the same power as they were working in the Western world. And one such example was that we partnered with Illumina 17 years back, and we got them to India, and uh, worked with early adopters, hired right kind of people, had a great team. I'm blessed to have an amazing team of at Premas. You've interacted with some of them, and I think
Yes.
and we have people coming out from some of the best leading institutes in this country, like IGIBs. They're PhDs and postdocs from IGIBs, ISC, IMTechs, CCMBs, and they work with us, and they have deployed their knowledge, understood the power of genomics in different areas. It could be in agriculture, it could be in human genetics, it could be in microbiology, it could be in infectious disease, it could be in any other area. So that's what Primas has done. That we we brought in some of the most cutting edge technologies: Illumina, 10x, Twist, Fluidigm, and I mean I can just Olink. I mean, and there's so many things we brought in,
Hmm.
and we continue. We would like to continue this vision of being ahead in the curve, trying to identify some of the trends earlier, and this
Right.
happens because we have kind of developed a strong relationships rapport with the key opinion leaders in the Indian scientific space and the clinical
Hmm.
space,
Hmm.
working in collaboration with them tandemly to understand what are the tools they require, what are the gaps they're finding it, and also same way finding out what are the best technologies coming up in the world and doing those proof of principles, working closely with them, seeing that if those technologies work in India. That's what Primas typically does and will continue doing so. Hopefully,
Amazing.
you know, that's I think I hope that that kind of vision and path continues for Primas, because that's what we believe in. That we would like to serve our customers with some of the most amazing technologies in a manner that they can be working in India for Indian customers. And so that's what we're looking at.
Amazing, amazing, just amazing. So, sir, tell us more about your company and the type of services Premas provides.
So, as I explained to you, that we are about a 17-year-old company, and so
Hmm.
we are in operating in the area of life sciences and the
Hmm.
clinical diagnostics by and
Hmm.
large. So, we provide tools in this area by partnering with some of the leading players globally. For example, we brought Illumina to India. We brought technologies like, for example, single cell genomics. Right now, it's really capturing a big imagination of the global researchers. Similarly, there's a new concept called spatial genomics right now, spatial biology, where you're maintaining the integrity of a tissue to study the gene expression on a slide. Now, the next concept which is coming up is multi-omics again, that people are looking at not just genomics, DNA, RNA, but people are
Hmm.
also looking at proteins, which is so there are more tools coming up like this. So what we do is we, as a company, we identify what are the needs in the Indian scientific fraternity, and we partner with the right technologies in tandem dialogue with the Indian scientific community to see if those tools can help them advance their own science, and they can publish better, they can do better discoveries, so that Indian science standards are constantly improving, and we are doing a small bit by providing the right tools and services to catalyze their outcomes. So that's the whole purpose. And we continue to identify new areas, new technologies to identify what is the next trend which can help. And so my team participates in global events to find out what's the latest happening at the global level, and then work on this. That's one part of it. But going ahead, we also are very keen now that we would like to develop our own products and own
Right.
assays based on Indian needs, because
Hmm.
something we find is that the global assays or global panels, are basically designed for their needs. So
Exactly.
what is our tropical needs? Like MTB, tuberculosis is a big burning
Correct.
issue for India. Not that it's not a big burning issue for other countries, but especially in our part of the world, it's a big burning
Hmm.
issue. We have a
Hmm.
massive burden. Can we develop tomorrow assays for that? Or say hemoglobinopathies, tomorrow it's a
Correct.
major burden in India. How do we collaborate with some of the best scientific institutions across the country,
Hmm.
uh, and a good research backed or a science backed data can be utilized to create a India specific true made in India kind of a product which is serving the Indian population and the diaspora across the world.
This is fantastic, and I think what you said in part of your this particular answer, I think that would be a groundbreaking thing, and I'm sure that the entire scientific community, the healthcare community, is going to see very soon fantastic things, and we can use it in our daily clinical practice as well. Sir, being a pioneer in the field of genomics, I know you have a lot of accolades and accomplishments, but then I just want to ask you that recently, by India Today, you have been announced at as one of the top 10 influential entrepreneurs of the year. So, how do you feel about this?
I hope I deserve that. That's what my first thought is. But I mean,
Definitely.
it's a huge honor, and I'm extremely thankful to India Today. I mean, for bestowing this honor. But this honor is basically, I mean, I'm just getting the name out of this, but this is completely to my team. I think I owe it completely to my team, to my customers and my stakeholders and my principal partners. I think for the support each one have rendered. But I think primarily my team, I think, which has worked so hard, and getting Premas to this level that we are getting recognized by mainstream media. So extremely honored and humbled by this accolade. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, before I go towards the last questions, there is a question from the audience. So, can we take that?
Yeah, sure, please.
Okay. So there is a question from Premnath Raja Kannu. Uh, the question is: any insights into organizing clinical trials in India for precision medicine and the role of service providers like Premas in these trials? How is the CDSCO supporting such collaborations?
Hey, thanks, Pranath. I think it's a very important question, and I mean, uh, the last time I checked, there are many clinical trials in which genomics-based, testing has been deployed. I mean, and I think some of the service providers are already, kind of partnered in that. But yes, these are very early stages. I envisage that once clinical trials again start, because there was in the middle, there was a little embargo in India for the clinical trials, so it's restarted now again. My guess is that as more and more clinical trials will start again, and genomics will become a mainstream tomorrow. That in every of those trials, my guess is that it will be deployed. Now, how will CDSCO and other regulatory bodies respond? We are trying to work towards creating those awarenesses. And again, as I said, this is work in progress, and I think all stakeholders are trying to work towards that. But my simple answer is, it will happen. It will happen. It is happening right now too. Um, what I would love to see more, Premnath, is that I would love to see how Indian pharma companies can actually deploy more new drug discovery, so that we can deploy those tools to have something like a companion diagnostic assay developed, which can be deployed in the clinical trials. So hopefully I would love to see that part, which is slow, but I hope it will happen soon.
Thank you for your answer, and I hope that answers Premnath's question. Well, sir, what are the future visions of Premas? Like, we understood what you are doing. You anyway, fantastic things Premas is already doing. But then, what is as a founder and as a main person who has brought Premas to this level? What are your future visions?
So, Gandhi, first of all, I think the field we are operating in right now,
Hmm.
as I said, economics, we've
Hmm.
not even touched the tip of the iceberg, I would say. So I think there's
Exactly.
so much to do. There's so much to do in this space. So I think I would love to see that how more and more clinicians adopt genomics in their routine practice. So I mean that's so I think we would like to bring in more India specific content and panels and products in this space. Some we can partner with other players. Some we would like to develop it in house in Prima. So we've now formed a crack team, a product development team. We've had people now who are focusing only on product development part, uh, and in collaboration with the Indian academia. So we are not looking at, because it's very important that you have the scientific veracity. And
Yes.
when you're creating a content, it should be scientifically tenable, done on X number of samples. Validation has been done so that when you actually launch this in the clinical practice, the clinician's trust is there on that particular panel or a product. So we are working on that area, that we will be developing a lot of products. The other thing is, we'll keep on looking at, as I said, newer technologies, the
Hmm.
multi-omics approach which is coming up. We'll constantly look at our hunt for identifying the new technologies and approaches, and bring them to India. And
Hmm.
the third thing we are looking at is, how do we, whatever we've learned in India and delivered and achieved here, can we extrapolate this success to other markets? Can we go beyond India? Can we look at global markets tomorrow? My vision is that tomorrow we can develop some interesting products in India for the
Hmm.
global consumption. So we become a truly global supplier from India, and there's a true made in India product developed here, and we are part of it, and we are exporting it to the global markets. That's my vision.
That's amazing, and I'm sure that you will achieve this, and Premas will always scale. And it, I mean, it has his heights already, but I think, as you rightly say, that you have a lot of work to do, and all the accomplishments will be achieved definitely. And so, sir, coming to the last question, what would be your message to aspiring life science and healthcare professionals in adapting genomics and precision medicine in day-to-day life?
I think, well, I mean, my advice is that I think this field has so much of promise, So I think one should be passionate about this field, and I think one should read about it first of all. I think there's so much to do about in this space, and there's so much. We need so many people to evangelize this concept. So my simple advice to all the aspirants which are trying to think to come into this space is to basically expose themselves as much as possible on the science and its application, and try and see that how you can make a difference in whichever field you choose. Some people choose research, as their career. Some people choose marketing as their career. Some people choose something else as a career. In whichever career path you choose in genomic space, I mean, try and become the best in that space and be passionate about that area. uh, this is an era of genomics. I mean, this era belongs to genomics. We are at the right time, at the right place, with the right technologies. Let's make sure that we make the most of it. Let's not this opportunity get wasted. So our education is giving us a chance to be a differentiator and a meaningful impact creator at this juncture. So to me, I think it's my request is that be committed to this space and be passionate about this, and constantly improve your skill sets and your learnings to make an impact. The world
Thank you,
needs us
sir.
this juncture, So I think so. There can't be a better time for a biologist
Yes, true.
this juncture. So the world needs us, and let's make it count.
Exactly. That's so motivating, and thank you so much, sir. And here we have an appreciation message from Prapti Jaiswal. Great insights. Thanks for sharing, Praveen. Dr. Goswami, this is a very useful webinar series. Thank you so much, Prapti, for that wonderful message. And I'll keep trying to continue this series and eclectica with different experts like Praveen sir, and in different space of science and technology altogether. Well, sir, it was wonderful, and I will not hold you anymore. I know that you are very busy, but still taking this chunk out of your schedule and coming and speaking here to my entire audience. It's a pleasure and it's a privilege to host you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gagi. Pleasure is completely mine. And thank you so much for having this platform. And I mean, I must congratulate you that you are doing your bit in creating the awareness. And I think tomorrow, each life getting impacted because of the awareness you're creating, you'll be proud of your existence. You'll be proud of your knowledge and your education. So kudos to you, and uh, excellent. Keep it up.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Good night. Good night, everybody. Take care. Bye bye.